Hi, my name is Jean-Pierre, and look, I know you've probably been wondering where I've been. Well, it's winter. And if you're anything like me, or if you know me, you know winter tends to mean one thing and one thing only: hibernation. So winter has been wintering, bones have been crackling, the wind has been so disrespectful. Hopefully, it hasn't blown you toward places or people you have no business being around. Cough, cough. Stay safe out there, alright? The streets are cold, literally and metaphorically. If this is your first time listening, welcome. You just stumbled into a little corner of the internet where we keep things a little awkward, a little cheesy, a little raw, and surprisingly, a little healing. And if you've been here before, legend. You could have been anywhere else right now, but you're here with me, whether you're tuning in from the car, your couch, your third totally productive coffee break of the day. I'm not judging. I'm just glad you were here. So back to what I was saying, or trying to say. Wait, what was I trying to say? Hibernation. So this winter, I've had time to observe myself in ways I hadn't before. And I'll be real with you. Not all is well upstairs. Maybe you already figured. But here's the strange part. Even though it's been cold, extremely cold, I haven't felt as physically impacted as I normally would be. Now, I'm not saying I've become immune to winter, but something's definitely shifted. And here's the kicker, right? I think it started with a name. When I began this podcast, I think 2023, I also changed my Instagram handle to @IamPainFree. Feel free to follow me if you haven't already. Shameless plug in. It seemed like a cool name at the beginning. It was quite affirming, a bit cheeky. Hey, I love the sound of it. But since then, every time I saw that name pop up on a notification, or whenever someone new wanted to connect with me on Instagram and ask me what my handle was, as well as having friends that never use my government name. I actually think some of these people don't even know my government name, but always calling me by my IG handle. I guess all of that, right? The culmination of everything somehow, somewhere caused something subtle to happen. It was like I was planting a seed in my own subconscious, and slowly, without really meaning to, I heard it so many times that I actually started to believe it. And from believing it, all of a sudden, I feel like I started living it as well. I used to brace myself for every single winter. Now, sickle cell doesn't exactly play nice with cold weather. From my doctors to my family, my friends, myself even, we've always known and braced ourselves because we know and believe winter to be the worst season ever for me. For the longest time, it has really been like that. But what if it was only true because I believed it? Because at the same time, I've always said that winter is my favorite season. And weirdly, winter is also when I'm my most creative, most productive. Let me just say, winter is where I'm most switched on. I can sit at a desk from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. getting things done. It will feel like only 30 minutes and I will totally be in the zone. So which is which? Is winter really my enemy or my ally? Maybe both, or maybe it depends on the story I choose to tell. A friend recently shared a powerful tool with me, a way of unpacking long-held beliefs by tracing them back to when and why you first formed them. It's like doing a mental excavation, digging up old scripts, holding them up to the light and asking, do I still believe this? Did I ever believe this? Okay, let me try to share the process with you, right? Because once I started doing this process changed a lot of things for me inwardly. Alright, so it's a simple 5-step process. You will need a pen, a paper, preferably your journal or your diary, okay? Step 1, in not less than 5 minutes, write the story you've been telling yourself over and over and over. Write it down as if you were having a conversation. Be as descriptive as possible. Step 2, read the story. Just read it at a normal pace. Step 3, ask yourself these 3 questions. 1, what am I feeling? 2, where am I feeling it? Preferably, this is like a scale from 1 to 10. How intense is that emotion that you're feeling? And question 3, when was the first time I felt like this? Step 4, read the story again, but this time slowly. And after every sentence, preferably at a full stop, take a deep breath, breathe in for like 5 seconds, and then breathe out for another 5 seconds. Preferably breathe out through your mouth. And then step 5, ask yourself these questions. What have I made this story about me that it doesn't mean? And then another question to close it off is, can I allow myself to let go of these meanings that I've given to these stories? Please do give me feedback once you manage to do this exercise. It's like 15 to 30 minutes. Please journal down your observations and also make it a habit to come back to this exercise when you feel like you're slowly slipping back into the identity of that old mindset or the stories that you no longer relate to. Again, mindset, I can define mindset as the story you tell yourself. Mindset isn't necessarily a vibe. It's a story or stories that we repeatedly tell ourselves over and over until it becomes our truth. Think about it for a second, right? What's your story? What's your story about money? What's your story about love? About failure? About health? Who gave you that story? A parent? A bad breakup? A failed exam? A doctor's report? These are all the stories we want to challenge, right? Sometimes we hold on to these stories because they help us cope. But other times they become a crutch, a convenient way to avoid responsibility, an identity that says, hey, this is who I am, so I don't need to change anything. And the hard truth about that is once you abandon responsibility, you automatically adopt blame. For some reason, someone else is always at fault. It's either your family owes you, your partner, your boss or your workmates, anyone but you, even God sometimes, we always tend to blame everyone else but ourselves. And as I was doing this work on myself, hibernating and just challenging different stories that I've told myself over and over, I remember a certain story. It's a biblical story, but I want to share it with the 2025 remix right now. Remember the woman with the issue of blood? 12 years of suffering? I almost said 12 years a slave. My bad. I'm still doing the work on me inwardly, okay? All right, focus. So, this woman, let's bring her into 2025. She's had this issue for 12 years, so that makes it, if my math still serves me right, 2013. She's been having this issue since 2013. Where were you in 2013? What were you doing? I'm not judging. I'm sure she's probably seen every specialist. I'm sure she's had every single test that can possibly be had, every scan. I'm sure she's been in countless waiting rooms, pharmacy lines. I don't even know how she balances life, work, if she even has work, how she manages her relationships, how her social life has been. I'm sure she's exhausted. Does she have insurance? Is she broke? Is she in debt? One thing's for sure, she's had to spend a lot of money since 2013. Can you imagine how many times she's told this story, either to herself or to someone? Imagine she meets a doctor for the first time. She meets another person for the first, in the past 12 years. I don't know how many times she has told this story. But then one day, she stops. She stops rehearsing the same story and dares to imagine a new one. Her mind all of a sudden started toying with the idea of a different identity, a different story, a new perspective, a new life experience. The idea of a normal life as far as normal is concerned to her. I truly think healing came when she challenged all the stories. The stories she's been telling herself for the past 12 years. When she discarded her old self or her old mindset and started believing in a healthier, happier, freer, and more wholesome being, when she thought of a different mindset, I think that's what changed everything. And the manifestation of this healing, as she had convinced herself, would only come through an action. And I think this action is what she called a prescription. This prescription, this time was not prescribed by a doctor or specialist. This prescription was simply to touch the hem of his garment. She rewrites her story in a single decision. If I can just touch the hem of his garment. Now, to me, that wasn't just faith. To me, that is identity reconstruction. A new way of seeing life, a new mindset. And here's something I've learned, and maybe you felt this too, right? Let me know. After a while, pain can become a personality, and trauma can become a template. You start seeing yourself as a victim of other people's actions, especially the negative actions. And sometimes even when there's no evidence that these people are still hurting you. And here's the dangerous part. When we cling to those stories, we begin building our lives around them. We defend them. We justify bad habits with them. And worse, we use them to sabotage healing. But healing, if you ask me, healing takes work. Sometimes healing can be messy. It is surgical. It is bloody. It is confronting. It's not cute. It's not some self-care Sunday Instagrammable post. But for all that healing is, I know it is necessary. Sometimes you'll cry. Sometimes you want to quit. But honestly, I urge you to keep going. Because being pain-free is great, trust me. However, since I've been pain-free, the possibility of pain popping up, or just the thought of pain pulling up on me unexpectedly, that thought is always at the back of my head. And to be honest, that is not liberating. It's also another form of being bound, survival mode, I guess. Being healed to me, totally healed, that is what I call freedom. And I just wanted to take this moment to talk to anyone out there who feels like they are a healer. So these are the people who always listen to others, the ones who pour out to others constantly, the ones we call our strong friends, the ones who are on speed dial when something terrible happens to us, the ones we can always count on, and we never really know what's going on with them because they always appear as though they have everything figured out. Many of the people I admire, the people I personally run to, teachers, leaders, healers, as I call them, I've noticed that they all have one thing in common. They didn't just start by healing others automatically. Their stories have told me, or have let it known to me, that they started by healing themselves. Maybe not instantly like the woman in the story we talked about earlier, but steadily, consistently, and progressively. And maybe you're the same, which I think you are. Maybe you've been experiencing certain patterns and situations that have made you feel like this is just not it. Maybe inwardly, in the midst of the stories you've been telling yourself and others, there's also a feeling like maybe there's another way to live. Maybe there's another way to love. Maybe there's another way to grow, another way to create wealth, another way to freedom. And that old story that you've told so many times no longer fits you. And I guess somehow this episode is also an invitation to take the time to examine your beliefs, to challenge your stories, to ask yourself who you were when you first believed what you believe, and who do you want to be right now, and what do you want to believe right now. I guess we all don't have to stay in survival mode for eternity. We don't have to keep living out old pain just because it's familiar. Maybe it's time we write it down, we speak it out. Maybe we cry if we need to, we laugh if we have to. But all in all, this is what is required to actually do the work that facilitates healing. So you do it the first time, and it might be uncomfortable. You do it the second time, it might still be uncomfortable. You do it the third, the fourth, again and again. And eventually, I promise you, you start noticing something. You start noticing how the old story starts losing its grip on you. You start noticing a new and better story taking shape. And the beautiful part is that you did not force this, but you actually chose this. I know for a fact that healing is personal, but I also know that it doesn't have to be lonely. My prayer is that we graduate from just being pain-free, but to being fully, entirely healed. And like I was saying earlier, this is to all my healers out there. Healer, heal thyself, and then go help someone else do the same. If this episode sparked something in you, please share it. Maybe you thought of someone just now. Let them know you're thinking of them. Make their day. It's on me. I'll catch you on the next one.